What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Galaxy of Pen and Paper, which is a game that I really should have covered a long time ago. This has slipped under my radar, and I feel really bad about this. This is by Behold Studio. These guys have made two previous games. One was Knights of Pen and Paper, which you could probably guess this is the sequel to. They're pretty much unconnected, other than, you know, general mechanics. It's just a different theme, a different world. You don't have to play the first one to enjoy this one. And they did one other title. It was Chroma Squad. You'll remember Chroma Squad, right? Chroma Squad was my game of the year in 2015. It was really, really, really good, and I love Behold Studio for creating that. So yeah, I absolutely should have looked at this a lot sooner, because this game came out in July. On the 17th of July, this game was released, and I only found out about it like a week or so ago when the devs sent me a key for it and was like, hey, you really enjoyed Chroma Squad, which is understatement of the year right there. Would you like to check out Galaxy of Pen and Paper? Heck yes, I would. Absolutely. I would love to see what you guys have made after Chroma Squad. So this is it. I'm several months late on this. I wish I'd known about this in July instead of finding out about it in October, but here we are. Galaxy Pen and Paper, it is a game about a tabletop role-playing group. You play both the DM and the players. It's kind of odd like that. I guess players of Knights of Pen and Paper might well be already familiar with this kind of thing. I actually never did play that game, so it's kind of new to me. Have a quick look at the settings. There's not a lot really going on here, but it's a very, very simplistic game. I don't know that it needs a lot. You have music and sound effects, ta-da, separate sliders, that's great. And you have resolution options and full screen options, and that's about it. You can tell it's the same kind of style as Chroma Squad. It's all pixel art. It's great pixel art, I love it, but nonetheless pixel art. Probably don't need anything much fancy than that in terms of graphics options. Language options, you have got American or Brazilian, I guess Brazilian Portuguese, right? That's the language they speak in Brazil, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, yeah, the team is Brazilian, so those are the two languages that this sports. So let's hop on in. I've got my team. You get to customize your DM, but you don't get to customize the characters to any massive degree, which is weird, given that you do get to name the characters as well. So you create a DM for yourself at the start of the game. I am Meroka, the DM, and you get to pick out a cool outfit and a cool, like, spaceship, and basically make yourself look like you're on the Enterprise or in a TARDIS or wherever you kind of feel like. There's a bunch of, like, heavy references to a lot of sci-fi throughout this, and you can pick out a bunch of stuff. Then you get two role players immediately, and you get to pick classes and whatnot for them, and you get to name them, but you don't really get any customization over their appearance to any great degree, which is a little bit of a shame, because well, Chroma Squad did have some of that, and I kind of was like, they're part of my team, they're part of my characters. I'd like a little bit of customization there, but afraid not. Unfortunately not. So we're going to hop on in, and it's kind of cool, because each time you play the game, it's like it's basically like you're sitting down at the table to play another round of the game. These guys aren't actually in a spaceship in space. They're just role players role-playing that they are adventurers in a spaceship in space. So when you sit down at the table, it's like you're the role players sitting down to play another session of, it's not Dungeons and Dragons, but whatever the equivalent of Dungeons and Dragons is in this universe. So you got the DM sat there in their sort of space chair thing, and there'll be a little bit of table banter. They'll talk like, hey, let's get another game going. Hey, roll a senses test. There. Okay, nothing happens. Moving on. Hey, what about my bonus? My skill set grants me a... Oh wait, yeah, you're right. That's why you should trust me and stop questioning my authority. Okay, focus on the game, everyone. Yep, there we go, guys. Let's get back into the game. So here we are. This is actually the game. You get a little bit of that banter every time you jump in, and I think that's just like, that's a cute touch. I like that. It keeps the theme going, the whole, we're all sat around a table. We've got a table here. DM's at a computer. We're not even here physically. This is all done over the internet. We've got Discord and Skype and whatnot going on these days. They're probably just playing over Discord, honestly. I think that's what that is. So yeah, the DM's got everything set up in their room, but everyone's there. They're virtually there. They're there through the internet, just chatting over VoIP or whatever, and doing their game that way, which is cool because the modern technology allows this. So what have we got? We have got a mission creation system. As the DM, we need to create missions for our crew to go on. You get a whole bunch of different things. You can go on a whole range of side missions, or you can continue on with the main story. I shall probably just show you a bunch of the side missions because they take much of the same mechanics as the main story missions, but avoid the story spoilers to some degree for you. We have 3 characters. You may recognize their names down here. So, as I say, you get to name them after characters you know, which is always fun because now you can form attachments to them, because now I've got Kitten Mittens is my bounty hunter. We've got Tulkas is like my tanky engineer-y kind of character. He's a storytelling who is basically his entire character. That's all you get at the start is, I wrote 125 pages of adventure. Does anybody want to play it? That's Tulkas. Tulkas seems like a storyteller to me. He's a simian, which gives him a racial bonus to allow him to occasionally hit all the enemies on the screen instead of just the one he's attacking. And he gets various different racial traits and things for that. Kitten Mittens is an achiever who achieves bonuses for each achieved achievement, which is a weird way to tie that in, because now you actually have incentives to get the in-game achievements. I don't think I've ever come across that. Like, oh, your characters get better as you actually do achievements in the game. That's a little strange, but kind of cool and very novel. She is a green, basically bug-eyed alien race kind of person. And as I say, yeah, bounty hunter. So the bounty hunter is going to give them some various traits and a set of skills that they can pick from in this whole skill tree. We got Fixer over here is basically my thinker, human, and he's kind of a... It's weird, they never actually refer to the classes beyond where you get into them, actually. I can't think what his character's called. He's kind of a hacking kind of guy. He fights with a laptop, basically. And he can kind of hack into people. He's got mind hack that causes confusion. As a human, his basic racial trait is that he gets to equip more stuff. So everybody gets 4 basic general sort of equipment slots to put random bits and pieces in that will buff your stats. And humans get 1 more. As I say, the greens have a chance not to spend SP, basically your mana bar, essentially, when you're using abilities, and the monkeys can just do a bunch of damage, which is kind of cool. So they've all got their different racial traits. I think those were 3 races. I can't recall there being another one. It may be that they will introduce other ones later, because they certainly... The implication is that that other classes are introduced. You can go on a kind of a side mission if you go... I don't know if there's one here, but yeah, class story, in fact. If you take that up, it will allow you to purchase... What do we want? We want the Negotiator class, so we can pursue a Negotiator class thing. Someone in the galaxy needs your help, they just don't know it yet. But no, I'm not going to create that just now. I think that's probably a little bit spoilerific as well, perhaps. I don't know. I think we'll just stick with generic quests. At any rate, yeah, we've got all these classes. You can mix them up, and they're going to... Each time you level up, you're going to get skill points, and you can buy skills, and you've got 4 different skill slots. They all start with 1 racial thing, 1 class thing even, rather. And you start with a bunch of basic kind of abilities that everybody gets, but you're going to quickly swap them out for more interesting things. So Fixer can apply poison to a target, and, he heals himself. If they already have poison, he heals everybody. You can increase his damage and shield regen. That's a passive ability, in fact. You probably don't want to fill all these slots out with active abilities, otherwise you would just run out of points in battle fairly quickly. Some passive ones are actually pretty useful. Just so you got a good range of things in here. If you fill this up with active abilities, you're really not going to get to use them all too much. And he's got a quarantine procedure, which synergizes nicely with that. It's like everything that is poisoned currently takes a bunch of damage and heals everybody. So that's cool. So go to Kitten. She can set things on fire. Look, I had to. The character is Kitten Mittens. She literally has ability to set... That's the one, yeah. Interrogation. She literally has the ability to set people on fire. Of course she does. And then, that was one. Then she deals critical damage to people who are on fire. So that's pretty good. Tulka's got some synergy with the whole poison thing. If you attack somebody who's got poison spreads to adjacent units. But he's mostly a tanky one. He's got an ability that deals damage and restores his shields. Passive ability that gives him more shields. You'll see, look, he's got 170 shields. He's got way more than any other class. He's basically... His job is to take aggro and absorb all the hits. He's a tank. So we should start a mission. Let us start off by doing a... let's start off with a hunt, because this is going to show you some of the combat. So hunt mission, you get at the bottom, it tells you how many sort of reputation points you're going to get for doing each aspect of a particular mission, because you're not going to get just the 21, we'll get more in a moment. So we take that, then different people are different quest givers, so we can either have Val Parsec from Space Command, she would give us 21 points if we do a mission from her. Rawhide, Space Cowboy that we met somewhere on a desert planet, he will give us 25 points if we take a mission from him. So sure, let's go with Rawhide. Where do we want this mission to take place? It depends which planet you pick as to how many points you get. And basically, I think the way it seems to be structured is just, it encourages a bit of diversity, because if we go right back to type, missions you've done recently, like I've done escort and collect missions more recently, so they're worth less. If you go and do hunt, I haven't done a hunt mission in a little while, so actually that's worth more points. So it encourages you not to just keep grinding the same quests over and over again, in order to actually get your reputation up and get rewards. We can get better rewards from gathering resources, better rewards from getting a better drop rate. So as we increase our reputation, we'll get cool stuff from basically progressing. And you're encouraged to do more diverse stuff to improve that faster, really. So we're going to do a hunt. We do it from Rawhide, because we're not taking a mission from him yet at all, actually. I think I met him quite recently. And which planet would you like it to be on? That one, a little bit of me wonders if that's meant to be like a jokey kind of reference to that Icelandic volcano that nobody can pronounce, because basically the description of the planet when you visit it is, nobody can pronounce the name of this planet, everyone just calls it Bob. Did everyone just call that volcano Bob? I can't remember. It was a few years back now. Either way, the game is full of lots of silly references. As we get into space travel, you'll see that like some of the sectors are named after various science fiction authors and sort of TV series creators and stuff, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, let's go to, I don't know, I don't think we've been to a gas planet yet. Let's go to Antilia, sure. And what are we going to be fighting? We can either fight lightning, a cryptic jar, or a winged serpent. The winged serpent looked kind of cool, but also really super intimidating. Cool, let's have a look. You can always cancel a mission at any time. I don't believe there's any penalty for it. You can just create a new mission anyway. But yeah, let's go. Let's take 66 reputation points, which would be rather good. That would push me over 600 and get me deep scan in exchange for killing a winged serpent. So now our DM is going to like basically reveal the story to us that we've created. The DM is going to bring us in, and this is why it's weird. Because basically you're creating the content here. You are the DM, you're choosing what the players are going to do, where they're going to go, sort of you're directing the flow of the story. But you're also controlling the players. Because normally you would expect one or the other, not really both. And to that end, you're also kind of controlling the difficulty of the game and the progression of the game. I can either just forge on with the story and ignore all the side stuff if I want. That's an option. But my characters might then be a little bit underpowered. I mean, in this instance, actually, I think I'm a little bit overpowered compared to the story stuff, because the last story mission I did was kind of a breeze, because I'd been doing a bunch of side quests, and all my characters were several levels higher than the boss that came up. So I guess I don't know, it's strange to be trying to strike that own balance for yourself, because I don't think players, broadly speaking, are going to be terribly inclined to overly challenge themselves. That was my concern with this game. I mean, every player is going to be different people are going to handle it in different ways, so I guess you take it at your own pace and challenge yourself to whatever you're comfortable with. But I think a lot of players are going to be inclined to be like, fine, I can just, oh, this mission is tough, let me just go do some gophering for a while, let me just do escort missions taking items from A to B and level up my characters, and suddenly I've made the game easier. It's a weird kind of dynamic. It kind of works, but it's a very unusual kind of thing. You get a holo call from the Bounty Hunter Union. Yeehaw, guess what? Time for some bounty hunting? You all read my noggin. Saddle up, buckos, here's the varmint we're riding down. This time, Winged Serpent, dastardly villain wanted for illegally commercializing exotic pet rocks. Winged Serpent rides out on Antilia with his no-account gang. Dismantle the gang by defeating 5 flying snakes. Use your rope him in and brand him while I watch the skies. Gotcha. That's sweet to hear, I'll be calling you. Call ends. Ta-da! There we go, we've created a mission. So if we go to Antilia, we need to create a bunch of battles, basically. We need to create a bunch of encounters. Our GM is going to basically create some fights for us. But we are the GMs, so we're creating our own fights. So this is kind of our overworld. We're in the Roddenberry system, right? Get it? We can go to the Clark system, or we can go to the Le Guin system. As I say, lots of things named after sci-fi peoples, basically. And yeah, we can like descend on some but not all of these ones. Giga City 37 you actually can't like explore. Police Station you can't explore. Asteroids you can't explore. If we were to go over here to Brumby 3, I can show you a little bit of space combat, and then we can descend onto the planet and have a wander around. You can see that bit of things. So if you go around, if you visit a planet that has a spaceship around it, they broadly seem to be all hostile, so you will engage in a space fight like this. You have a dice. The dice is the core of your ship. It's the thing that powers it, that makes it go. And the more sides your dice has, the more powerful your ship is really the long and the short of it. You can see what dice the other ship is equipped with. I have a D6, you start with a D4, you early on get a D6. And as you progress, you get a D8, presumably a D10, a D12, a D20, I guess, are probably where the likely progression is going with all this. That seems, you know, pretty sensible. So we roll that each turn. I rolled a 4. Great. That gives me 4 points of energy to use in this turn. If you don't use it, it does roll over till the next turn, but you are capped at 9, so you can't go above 9. So I can attack for 1 point, I can heal for 2 points, or I could upgrade my attack for 1 turn for 3 points. As spoils, as basically like consumable items that you'll get from space fights, I have a battery pack which adds 2 energy to this, or a re-roll the dice, so if you roll like a 1 and you're like, I might die because of this, you can re-roll the dice and try and get a better number. Or you can just straight up just charge up your energy with battery packs. So I can do that here, like, whoop, there we go, I've got 2 extra points in it, so now I've got 6 charges in there. So basic attack, boop, 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 boop. Each time you use it, the costs will increase, so you can't just keep spamming it. I can't attack twice for each battery pack is where this is at. I can fire once, the second attack takes 2 points, and then the third attack takes 3 points. If I were to go again, it would take 4 points, so I'd have to use 2 battery packs there. In order to get that next attack. So I'm better off ending my turn and letting them trade blows. We've got shields, as you can see, we've got a 17% evasion rate, so a pretty good chance of dodging some of that. If it hits the shields, you take no damage whatsoever. So we roll again. I roll a 2. Weirdly enough, I would say I almost kind of feel like the dice are a little bit weighted in a lot of rolls in this thing, because you do seem to roll weirdly high in a lot of instances. Certainly early on, it felt like I was rolling 6s all the time with this dice. A little bit more balanced now, perhaps, but because I actually haven't rolled one here, but I have rolled an astonishing number of 6s, like more than 1/6 of my rolls have been 6s. And the same applies elsewhere in the game. I just feel like a lot of the dice rolls always come out really surprisingly high. These guys roll a crazy number of natural 20s. But there we go, I killed a ship, I got 27 XP, I got 44 coins. We got some loot, some of those things that we can use in fights, and everybody's XP bars are going to go up just a little bit. So if we land on a planet, we can hop down and we can go explore it. Whoosh! Bit of a transfer screen, hiding the loading bar. And now we are on the planet, so you can always, as long as you're at the space station, you always hit the med bay and heal everyone up, but whilst you're on a planet, leveling up is going to be your only other way of healing up. We can return to, oh by the way, I've called my spaceship the Bubbles, because obviously I have. I wanted to call it Bubbles, but they insist on referring to it as the Bubbles. So each planet's kind of laid out in kind of a grid of nodes. This one's kind of a hexagonal fashion, but they're not all going to be like that. And each one of these has got things going on. If it has a speech bubble, there are people there that you can talk to. If it has a city, there's a shop that you can buy things from. If it has these guys, there's a fight. There are people to fight here. You can create an encounter. You don't have to, but you can. Each of these gems is mineral nodes, so we can head over here and go over here and go to that area and check it out. We can do some mineral scanning, which is a little bit... See 2 natural 20s there. Come on, really? What were the odds of that? Low were the odds of that. And then we can collect some resources. They're valuable. We can sell them. We can trade them. We can do things with them. But it is a little bit Mass Effect and a little bit grindy in that regard. I think the mineral gathering could have been a touch more interesting than it is. Maybe I've just done too much of it. Maybe I shouldn't do as much as I do. Space talk. We can talk to nearby people. He likes collecting minerals and selling them, but people around don't pay too much. Just a little bit of advice, go get some rare minerals. The implication there is that there is some wheeling and dealing and trading going on. I've actually really not found much in that regard. If you go to different shops on different planets, the sell prices for all of the resources you get from different planets are all exactly the same. The garbageites that you get from city planets, they always sell for 3. Sandium, every planet I've been to, every shop I've been to, Sandium sells for 4. Savonite sells for 12, every shop. So the implication there is there's some trading going on, but I've not really encountered it at all. But we can buy things here as well. We can buy some gadgets if we want to upgrade our guys. We've got some increased damage by 5. Anti-impact helmet. That looks kind of familiar. I think that one's from Chroma Squad. Increases your health. Solar panels increase shield regen. So whatever stats you want for your guys, you can probably find some equipment to gear them up in that regard. If we wander over to the battle, you can see how this works, and we can head down to the area. We can click on Create Battle. So in this area, we can fight cactus spiners or assault cactuses. Each area is kind of have like a standard enemy and an elite enemy, and sometimes maybe some others as well. In this instance, we're in a deserty kind of area. Guess what? There's a couple different kinds of cactus to fight here. They got different stats. It gives you an idea of how hard they're going to be, what they're going to do, and you can basically add them to the fight, and you can kind of see how hard it's going to be over here because of it, and what rewards you're going to get because of it. So 6 of these guys are not, like, impossible. Probably fairly tough. The bar's red, it's near the end of the thing, but not impossible. If I were to add an assault cactus in there, he's going to take up 2 slots, I think, maybe. Oh no, we can bottle them. So that maxes the bar out. So you get them. The more difficult you make the fight, the more rewards you get. But you know, if you've got less of them, you can like actually make a quest easier by encountering enemies one at a time. If I had a quest to kill 5 cactus spiners and I'm having a really hard time killing like even more than one of them, I can be like, that's it. I'm just going to fight them one at a time. I'm going to do that. Bring one into the fight it, move on, fight next one, move on. You can do that. It's not a particularly fun way to do the game. It's not a difficult way to do the game, but it is a way to progress if you need to, like, just lower that difficulty level a bit for you. If you can manage to take out 4 of them in a fight, you'll get a bit more money. If you can take out 5, you'll get more XP out of it. And if you can take out, like, a full max difficulty party, you get bonus items as well at the end of it, so that's cool. We don't need to be here, though, so we are going to head back to here. You'll notice the dice rolls every time you travel, pretty much anywhere. Basically, if you roll below a 5 whilst you're traveling around, I don't know if that number varies for any reason at any point, but if you roll below a 5, up to this far in the game at any rate, you basically, something will happen. You'll start an encounter. You might start a fight, you might just trigger an event, you might get some dialogue, all sorts of things might happen, but it does vary a bit. So, ooh, this ship is actually quite tough. I'm going to end my turn and see what it does. They're D8. They're actually really tough. They actually rolled a 1 and didn't bother attacking, so that's good. So I got 6. I got 8 points. It might be worth activating my missiles here. Basic attack. Boom. Bonus damage. More bonus damage. I have got plenty of battery packs. I'm going to use that and fire a 3rd set of missiles just to get that damage in. And I'm going to end our turn and see what they do. Fire missiles at me, but I deflected them. So that's good. This does remind me very heavily of basically the you know, the bubbles section. Look at the bubbles section. This is a bubbles. I named the giant friggin' robots in Chroma Squad Bubbles, and now my spaceship is named Bubbles, which is going to confuse me forever. But the mech section in Chroma Squad, when you had a mech and you were fighting other giant beasties. This whole section reminds me a fair bit of that. Clearly some inspiration drawn from that, and that's kind of cool because, you know, those fights were also pretty neat. Took a little bit to, like, figure out much strategy to them beyond just trade punches, but once you got it, it was a pretty neat system. So, I mean, again, the spaceship's a little simplistic now, but I kind of get the impression that late on, I think there's going to be a lot more strategy to it. So even as we're traveling through space, we're going to get those dice rolls as well. Again, the dice rolls seem to be weighted a little high. You'd imagine that you're rolling a d20 and an event happens when you roll a 1 to 4. That should happen once every 5 times that you travel, roughly. Nah, you can travel loads and never roll 1 to 4. It really doesn't come up that much. It's weird how the dice just feel weighted like that. So by exploring new areas, you're going to get XP as well, so Fixer has leveled up. His stats are going to go up. And he has 5 skill points by now. I've actually kind of got a bunch of abilities that I like for him, so I'm not actually super inclined to buy things here. I think it's probably worth buying a bunch of abilities that synergize with each other, but then having a diverse array of things so that, you know, if a boss comes up that requires me to use confusion, because, you know, there's a lot of robots out there in space. If you're fighting a big bad robot, well, poison doesn't work on robots, surprisingly enough. However, stun does, burn does, confusion does. Maybe we could, you know, swap out some abilities that are poison-based and replace them with other different debuffs and things. So there's clearly some strategy to like picking out interesting abilities to synergize with your characters. Some of them are kind of basic stat stuff, like bonus to 15% critical chance. It's a little boring, but you know, if that's just kind of the character build you're going for, you can take that. I'd like to see things just a touch more interesting than that, but by and large, quite a lot of them are. There's only a handful of them that are just like bonus numbers, like luckiest. Raises your critical chance. Increased threat. Most of them do stuff. Initiative, yeah, there's like 3 or so things in here that are just plus stats, but most of them are pretty interesting. So here we are, this is a new planet. I've not actually explored this new planet. We want to be over here. As we go to new area, roll a dice, find out what's here. It's a new area, so we're all going to get XP for checking out the new areas. So the XP bar is going to go up just a little bit each time. If I explore this planet, you know, I actually might get Tulkas to level up. And you never know, we might get a dice roll that actually lets us see a thing happen. But you can see, like I say, you should get... Something should happen, like, once every 5 movements. Something should happen, you would have thought. But that just doesn't really necessarily seem to be the case. I've just done a whole lap of this planet and no events have come up. I'm not rolling a 1 to 4. It's crazy. My dice are loaded. I don't know why, but okay. So this is where our quest takes place. We can create a battle. Big shot hunting is what we're going to do. We're going to kill 5 winged serpents and... No, kill the winged serpent and 5 flying snakes. They're going to be here. That's a flying snake. That's a winged serpent. It is the elite version of that. They're level 16 and level 17. I might have actually bitten off way more than I can chew here. That's going to be interesting. Let's certainly try some flying snakes. 2 of those gives us bonus coins. I think that may actually be really difficult for me, actually, given that the enemies are, like, several levels higher than me. Mythical being that eats lightning and burps thunder. Applies burn status in a straight line. Kind of nasty. Let's fight it nonetheless. Let's hop on in. Let's do some turn-based role-playing stuff. Taken us long enough, hasn't it? But yeah, this is the other major combat version. So everyone's kind of got an initiative. You do an initiative roll at the start, whoever goes first, and we've got a turn order. You can like apply slow and stun status to people to kind of mess with the turn order a bit, but broadly you're kind of gonna go in initiative order. So we've got Kitten's got deal damage to everything in a line or set things on fire. These are dragons, they might be immune to fire, I don't know, I guess we can find out. Stun is probably going to be a pretty useful one to apply anyway. So, bam, okay. Burn applied, stun applied. Okay, the dragon is not immune to fire. This is good to know. So, if you hover over them, you can see what buffs and debuffs they've got. Characters in the front line deal an extra bonus, 10% damage. Characters in the back line take, gather 10% less threat. We can move strategy, so I can change the combat formation of a character, so you can see it's kind of a 3x2 grid. You got 3 in the front row, 3 in the back row. Anyone in the back generates less threat. I want Tulkas in the front row because he's my tank and he wants to generate threat. Kitten is kind of predominantly a damage dealer. It would be nice to have the bonus damage at the front, but she's also very, very squishy, so she doesn't want to take aggro. There's also a line of sight thing, so unless it's an attack that deals damage in a straight line, Tulkas is going to prevent Kitten from actually being hit by quite a lot of attacks there. So we've got the tank protecting my squishy kind of glass cannon character, so that's cool. So Tulkas has got maintenance order, deals damage, regens shield. His shield's not down, so I don't know whether I necessarily need to do that, but it does generate a lot of threat, which is good. We can deal damage to target and apply poison status, which would be pretty good, because then this dragon guy would be taking fire and stun and poison, which would be pretty neat. It'd be nice if I could get Fixer to go first, because maybe I should put some extra initiative equips on him or something, because if he goes first, he can apply poison, and then Tulkas' ability synergizes by then spreading that poison across the enemies. But in this instance, I guess we'll just sort of take aggro, really. So high threat, he's basically a taunt is what that is. So Fixer, deal poison. Also heals himself, but kind of redundant at this stage. So you're going to take fire damage. Go resist the stun. It tells you basically here, so what the chances of them are of resisting any given status. So my guys are now on fire. She has a 30% chance each turn of resisting and thereby removing that status. The dragon has a 20% chance of resisting and thereby removing the poison. So they're probably not going to recover from that poison for a couple turns, which is going to be nice. We can... What can we do? We could apply interrogation to the other dragon, or we could just do multi-shot. It doesn't have that much SP. I have found it quite useful if you're feeling kind of lazy and a little bit cheaty, just to return to the spaceship after each fight, just to regen your health and shields and stats and whatnot. Shields actually do regen between fights, actually, to be fair. But health and SP do not, so if I were to apply gas clouds to that, good. But if I'm going to fight more dragons, you know, these guys are going to struggle because they're not going to be able to use as many abilities because I've used up a lot of my SP. Okay, so Kitten, is this one on fire? This one is burning, that's good. It is stunned, and it is poisoned. These are great. So Kitten does critical damage to people who are on fire, so just standard attack, boom, 58 damage. That's great. We're taking burn damage, and it's dead. And apparently you can take critical burn damage as well. That was kind of cool. So they're down, 107 coins. Apparently good for grinding money, these guys, and a good chunk of XP. So Kitten's going to level up there. Get bonus stats, bonus talent points. So got extra health, shield, SP, shield regen, bonus damage, bonus full damage range, in fact. So she's going to deal one more minimum damage and one more maximum damage, which is cool. I could buy some stuff. I kind of like what I've got here, though. So again, I might just hang fire and save her talent points. There's a lot of other things that got some synergy there. So basic attacks deal bonus damage if they're stunned. That would... In all fairness, interrogation plus burning sense plus almighty power would be pretty brutal, because you're applying stun and burn to them and then following up with a guaranteed critical attack that deals a bonus 25 damage or so. Yikes. There's some good synergy there. That might be worth taking. But hey, our quest requires us to do 5 of those, so now we can add some of the others. We can actually just fight the boss first, I guess. It's just basically a checklist, isn't it? So, okay, let's do that. Let's add the Winged Serpent. He does very similar stuff, but he's got a lot more health. We can just fight one and do the coin, or I can add a Flying Serpent as well, and up the damage, up the difficulty, get bonus XP. Heck, let's do it. Alright, Winged Serpent must be here. Is Winged Serpent here? Roll. Yes. Alright, Winged Serpent, you're coming to jail. I think each time the DM rolls as well, I think there are a number of outcomes that could come out of it, which is, again, true to the theme and works really well. Because there's a few instances, it's weird that you can do them multiple times as well. There's been an occasion where the DM's been like, you think you saw something behind you, roll, or in fact, you know, it's proper DM style, you don't even say that, it's just like, oh, roll a senses check or whatever, and they'll be like, okay, roll. It's like, okay, you didn't spot anything. But then, like, if you like replay the same encounter, which you, in that particular instance that I'm thinking of, you could do, like, okay, roll a senses check, and like, you detected somebody was following you. You could turn around and talk to them, and blah blah blah. You engage with another NPC character, which is weird that it just lets you just like do that over, but there's genuinely some actual behind-the-scenes dice rolling going on here that you don't always get to know what the consequences are, or why you're doing it, or you don't know how or why or what you're doing it for. It's just the GM's keeping the story to themselves, which, as I say, when you're the GM is a little odd. But yeah, a lot of this game you're experiencing from the player's perspective, but then sort of when it comes to actually driving the narrative, you're essentially the GM. There's other major story points as well. It'd be like, okay, something is happening. How do you want to deal with this? Do you want to do this or this? And it's like, GM's choice will pop up, and it'll say, he basically is going to drive the story one of two sort of directions, and you get different. It'll play out a little bit differently depending on which GM choice you did. I keep saying GM and DM, and I keep mixing them up. I don't know, Dungeon Master, Game Master. I feel they're reasonably interchangeable. Either way, just assume I mean either or, whichever term you want to use. I think DM's probably more accurate for this. We're after your bounty. We can do this the hard way or the easy way. How dare never your command not send a proper officer to arrest me. I'll show you what happens to surrogate cops. It's weird that there's like a lot of animals will just like chat to you and their bounties, and they're wanted for criminal activity. It's like, you're a snake. But hey, fantasy role-playing. Can't really question that too much. So we probably want to take out the ad first. Some pre-scripted boss encounters are a little bit more dynamic than this. Obviously, this is I'm just showing you the combat system at its most basic here, really, if we're honest. some of the bosses are a lot more complex than this, but sort of for the missions and for a lot of the game, it's just going to be like, here's a bunch of enemies, fight them, use your abilities to most effectively deal with everything. So, alright, let's get Fix to apply poison to that, so the next turn Tulkas can... Oh, I resisted the poison. I didn't even get to use the poison. That kind of sucks. He remains stunned though. If only I had bought that stun bonus. Not even on fire. We'll just do multi-shot and hit everything, I suppose. Let's try that. So that deals damage to everything in a row. So yeah, that's either the front line or the back line. If the enemies are spread out over different lines, you won't be able to do that, but I also got Trample Rush, which deals damage to everything in a straight line, so that's like the front row and the back row in the same sort of column. Looking at it from, like, facing. I know columns are normally vertically. I know what I mean. My Tulkas is out of SP, so that's a problem. You do get one chance to use an item each turn, though. That won't actually take up your turn. Using strategy does use up your turn, so you can attempt to flee, you can delay your character so that you wait to take your turn. I suppose if you wanted to... Actually, I guess if I wanted Fixer to apply poison before Tulkas spread the poison, that would be a pretty useful one, because delay your character turn until after the next... Oh, until after the next enemy would be trickier, because then he would move there. I don't know, you could use that for some sort of strategy, I'm sure. Or you can rearrange formation or flee. That will take your turn, though, like rearranging and stuff. Yeah, items do not, though. So if someone needs healing up, I can feed them a 3D printed pizza and heal some health, and then I can carry on attacking as well. In this instance, I think all I've got is my attacks, so let's do that. Fixer can use poison, but I still can't use my gas cloud, which is kind of disappointing. He's also got a piercing shot that deals damage through shields, but these guys are snakes. Surprisingly enough, snakes don't actually wear shields. Who knew? Stun resisted, poison deals damage, that's okay. That's fine. Everybody's on fire, that's a problem. Poison deals damage through shields. The shields can't resist poison, but fire actually does deal damage to shields before it deals damage to health. Interesting sort of subtle difference to note with these things. If you're on fire, you can use shields to prevent the fire to some degree. If you're poisoned, that could hurt. That could hurt a lot. Not much I can do with Tulkas other than just keep swinging away with the wrench, I suppose. Fixer can try and put poison on this one. I don't know if the big guy's... Yep, big guy's weak to poison, that's okay. Only a 20% resist chance. That applies stun and deals damage in a straight line, so we could try and stun it. It is a boss character, it's probably immune to stun, so there you go. Never mind, we'll just do a bunch of damage, it's okay. It's more than the standard attack, so it still hits pretty hard. We should probably win this. Tulkas has lost his shields, which is a shame. I do have items that can restore his shield, but he's got a lot of health as well. He might be alright. Might be. I can heal up Tulkas by using Virus on this guy, but at the same time he's not actually taking that much damage. If I hang fire with the Virus till next turn, if Tulkas has taken any damage, and he might because he's still on fire, then, you know, you could do some bonus damage that way. We should try and apply fire, I think. And my racial ability gave me a free use on ability there, which is pretty cool. So, yep, taking bonus fire damage. It's odd that they seem to be... it feels like a bug, I think, but it's taking critical fire damage because of Kitten's passive ability there. Kitten's got the deal critical damage when an enemy is on fire, but it's supposed to only apply to your basic attacks, not to the fire damage that is dealt to them. And up to now it hasn't done that, so I think the combat does have a couple of weird quirks and kinks that maybe at this stage still seem to be worked out. It doesn't feel like they work like I would expect them to work, frankly, is the long and the short of it. So that guy's down, we got lots of money, plenty of XP, got bonuses for that because I made the fights artificially harder. I didn't make it like excessively hard, so we don't get like bonus loot out of it. A drone ship swoops down and takes a winged serpent away, lightning fast. I hope you drop the bounty money on a lava planet. Winged serpent yells while being taken away. Rawhide then bustles onto the scene. There you go, that's a mean thing to say. Sorry. Alright, fellas. The game's got a bit of a sense of humor about it. Like I say, it's very silly as well. The enemy's just like snakes and things just talking. It's like, sorry, I'm sorry I was mean. One of my bounty targets. if you liked the sense of humor in Chroma Squad, and I did, it's got a very similar kind of sense of humor, which you'd expect because it's written by the same guys. It's stylistically similar. It's got the same kind of, it's got all the same ideas going on. It's written by the same people in the same kind of way, and it's a cool style. It's a cool aesthetic. I like everything that's going on here. I'll say there's certainly some issues, and the balance thing is weird. But on the whole, everything kind of works. It's strange to consider that when you've got the mission creation here, there's potentially like unlimited gameplay here. I guess you'd get bored of them sooner or later, and you'd probably keep seeing the same stuff pop up over and over and again. Even early on, I've seen some content repeat itself a little bit, particularly as you're traveling around, rolling the dice. Some of the encounters you get are the same every time. You keep coming across the same things. You'll get the same dialogue, same people popping up. So you do get a bit of repetition there. I think it would wear out after a little while, but, you know, you do just have the ability to just keep role-playing forever with these guys. Just keep making missions and keep going on new things. And there we go, we finally got a thing. So, Rawhide complains about a fatigue, a sore throat, and a bit of a fever. What do you do? And depending on your character's stats, primary stats at any rate, they've got different responses to things. Torcus's primary stat is in body, so probably just a cold, hang in there, it'll soon be gone. Pixar thinks it sounds like a Vonkerian flu, take him to a doctor, because he's an intelligent chap. And Kitten will use her senses, so wait until we reach a city and can find a cheap doctor there. And depending on which one you respond, that character often will get a little bit of XP, and sometimes more might happen. I don't know. This one actually hasn't come up before, because I guess Rawhide's a fairly new character for me. I don't know. Let's see what happens if we find a cheap doctor. I don't know. Okay, so find a cheap doctor, says it's just a cold, his diagnosis took a while, and now you're all kind of sick. So everybody loses 1 SP, and it cost us 5 credits to get that diagnosis. It doesn't matter, I am headed back to the ship, so to that end, we are just going to go get everyone's SP and health and whatnot back in just a moment, making that just a touch redundant. This is literally the entire mineral scanning thing. Just go to a thing that's green and try and roll higher than the difficulty value, and again, we're rolling a really high number of 20s today. All 20s happening. We can go back to spaceport, we send there, I can visit the med bay. That's going to heal everyone up. Whoop, there's a bunch of health, there's a bunch of SP, everyone's back up to full. We can go on an adventure again. But we've been here quite long enough. I think I've shown you a little bit of everything that there is to do. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of different missions. Intercept is just the space combat mission. You've seen the space combat. It's a bunch of those fights. Collect is the mineral gathering thing. You will have to go to a specific destination and find a bunch of specific things that they've asked you to using the mineral gathering minigame thing there, if it could be so called a minigame. Escort is literally gophering. And class story is a little bit of narrative. It could be any of the above, really. And at the end of it, I think you'll unlock a new class. The implication is, judging by the table, that I will at some point, at some stage in the game, probably acquire a 4th character as well. And I would, I imagine, have access to whatever new classes I've unlocked as well. Every so often, as part of the GM, who's sort of metagaming outside of the game, basically the GM will pop up and say, hey, by the way, there's a new expansion to our role-playing game here. Which of these expansions would you like to get? And you can add new planets, new classes, new missions and things to the game. And I guess the classes are kind of added through these class story missions, basically. So you can unlock a new class. So if we click on that, like I say, I can now get Negotiator. So if I want a Negotiator on my team, next time we get a 4th player for the team, yeah, I can probably pick out a Negotiator and they'll have new powers and new abilities and be able to do new things. So it keeps things going that way, it keeps things fresh as you're going along. But as I say, some of these missions you might... I think if you were to grind them a little excessively just to, like, overpower everything, I think you'd find yourself treading a lot of ground fairly quickly. Treading the same old ground fairly quickly, even. So maybe worth forging on with campaign quests. But again, like I say, you are the DM here. You really set your own pace here. Which is... It's a very interesting way to handle things. I have enjoyed what I've played of this game so far. I'm quite happy to recommend this. I love what Behold Studios do. Do I think this is, you know, same caliber as Chroma Squad Game of the Year material? Probably not. I'm not quite convinced this is like the best thing I've played all year, no, but do I think it's a very good game? Do I think it's worth checking out? Yeah, I do. I think you should, if you're any interest in any kind of role-playing, yes, check this out. As I say, this came out in July, so this has been out a little while now. It's actually not as new as it could be, so you might even potentially see it on sale at some point soon. However, the standard retail price for it is £10.99 or your regional equivalent, and you should be checking this out. So there is a link to this in the description below where you can go and have a look at it for yourself. Alright, I am just about done here, so thank you very much for joining me. I've been Meroka. This has been Galaxy of Pen and Paper by Behold Studio. I will see you next time.
Yeah!